Greetings, YouTube. Here we are again, once again, the talk show for talkers. Hello. Hi, Paul. Hi, Garrod. Hi, watchers, listeners, viewers. We're going to go straight into recording. So, Garrod, if you can, I'm not recording locally. I am, but I'm not, if you see what I mean.
No, I don't see what you mean.
No, well, don't worry.
This is an interesting philosophical issue. Can you both be and not be at the same time?
I can.
Several philosophers have written about this issue.
I can, because I'm clever. Actually,
To be or not to be was a popularization of that philosophical issue.
Yes, to be or not to be, that is the cue.
So here comes the cue. If we're ready to go.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Moira check, Paul check. So episode 1, this week's talk show for talkers.
Yep.
It's 3, 2, 1, go.
Greetings, Toastmasters, would-be Toastmasters, listeners and friends. You're most welcome to the Talk Show for Talkers here on irishtalkers.com. My name is Moira O'Brien. Our email address is info@irishtalkers.com. You can find us on Facebook as the Talk Show for Talkers, where we welcome your comments, your questions, your feedback, and indeed your evaluations. You can also listen to previous shows on our website. From this season, from last season. In fact, you can find episodes from way back when. Our website is www.irishtalkers.com. And you can also find there the Public Speaking Weekly newsletter, which we publish every week, which gives you fantastic links from the world of internet, all about Toastmasters, public speaking, confidence, leadership, in fact, anything to do with public speaking, really. Just look for the newspaper link on our website. I am joined today by the personification of parsimony maybe. And Paul O'Malley. Paul, you're very welcome.
I really am a very tight-laced person. I assume that's what you're implying.
I was trying to find a different P to the usual ones. Anyway, let's see. What have we got on the show this week? Apart from our usual mix of a thought for the week and a word for the week, in part 2, we're bringing you an amazing speech by one of our own. When I say one of our own, an Irish member of Toastmasters who gave a talk at a TEDx recently, and we're going to bring you that speech. In part 3, Paul is turning his attention to club officer training again, but from the point of view of the program quality directors. I'm going to be interested in hearing that one. In part 4, episode 4, I'm going to be looking at the new level 1 in pathways, but in a lot more detail than we did way back in July. So I hope you'll find that one of great interest, especially if you're new members. Pardon me for coughing. Let's dive straight into our quote of the week. And this week I have turned to someone who is not too unknown to you, I hope. Mr. Oscar Wilde, another Irishman, of course. There are so many quotes from Oscar Wilde that it's quite difficult to find the right one to produce. But I've chosen this one this week. Life is far too important a thing ever to talk seriously about. Life is far too important a thing ever to talk seriously about. And the reason I picked this one is it leapt off the page when I was thinking about Toastmasters and how we present our speeches. And we do tend to present our speeches quite seriously, don't we? Should we be serious all the time? Or should we try to be amusing all the time? Or do we need a mixture of the two? Paul?
Well, what is the antonym of serious? Is it?
Amusing.
Wait a minute. I hadn't finished my sentence. Semicolon. Is it humorous? Is humorous an antonym of serious? I suggest that may well be a legitimate antonym, meaning the opposite in meaning. Oscar Wilde, of course, says very serious things in a humorous style. He would have a reputation for doing that, wouldn't he, Moira? He would indeed, absolutely. That was rhetorical, don't you agree, Moira? But yes, indeed, the idea that life is too serious to be, life is too important to be spoken about seriously is, I think, a humorous remark made to draw attention to the fact that life is indeed an important matter. Well said, Oscar Wilde. I think that's not bad for you. You ought to join Toastmasters. That's my suggestion to you. Moira, we'll see you in a breakout room later.
Sadly, Oscar died a few years before Toastmasters was ever thought about. But, about 30. When did he die? 1899, I think. So, yes, 20, 24, 25 years. Gosh,
yes, very shortly before Ralph C. Smedley opened his first club in 1900, and was it 3 or 4? 1904, I believe.
It's not a number that has stuck in my brain. I get confused about the year that Toastmasters actually commenced officially. I know we celebrated the 90th anniversary. Was it in 96, 2016? I don't know. So it's in 1926, the official.
That's a subject of an educational speech, Moira, which I might give you some time. But Thank you. Ralph C. Smedley was a failure. You do realize this, of course, that he set up a number of clubs, groups, I don't know if he even called them clubs, well before he set up the first successful operation in Santa Ana in 1924. But he set up several before that. And they all failed as soon as he left the club. This happens, an unsustainable club is one that depends certainly too much on their founder. And Ralph C. Smedley learned that. Goodness knows how he managed to succeed in Santa Ana. I suspect it's because he didn't leave the club, but that's another story.
That's a very interesting point, actually, Paul, because the club that I set up in my local town was very much dependent upon myself, despite my best efforts to get the other members to take ownership. And when COVID hit, lo and behold, the club folded and has not been seen since. So, yeah, it's an interesting point and one worthy of more thought, especially if you are in a club where you are the driving force. Think about it. How can you find somebody who is going to take on the reins? Or how can you persuade your club members actually to take ownership of the club as a Toastmaster club? Anyway, that's, I think, a conversation for another day.
May I make one small suggestion, Moira? You need a track record of failure to achieve it in order to learn how to how to achieve it. So
Well,
you need a string of failures. As far as I know, you've only set up one club that has not survived your inattention. As soon as you stop paying attention to the club you've just spoken about, it folded. It would be good if you had done that 2 or 3 times, set up clubs that they'd folded one, and you would thereby learn something about how to set up clubs which survive you.
Okay, Paul, I know that the Americans say fail often, fail better. But I just take you up on one thing you said there, that I took my attention away from the club. That's not true. I kept my attention there. I was more than willing to take the club online and keep it successful, but the members didn't wish to. So yeah.
I abjectly apologize. I totally withdraw the misleading remarks, and it may well be that you want to edit that calumny out of the show because we are now going from the ridiculous to the sublime.
This is true.
When you go from the ridiculous to the sublime, it's good to tell people why. And I'm going from the ridiculous to the sublime in order to introduce to you something which we do every single week on in an episode of this podcast, and it's because we have a word of the week, a word sublime, which you may well have heard of, but the meaning of which I'm going to shock you about. Can I tell you something that hardly anybody knows? Sublime is a verb, a transitive verb. You see, everybody thinks it means something like wonderful. We'll come on to that later. But it first entered the English language in the 14th century, that's 13 something, as a transitive verb. And it's okay, it was only known to chemists, but that is to cause something to move from being a solid to becoming a vapor, and then condensing back into a solid. So there you are. Isn't that incredibly useful to you?
I shall bear that in mind for the rest of my life.
There you are. All the chemists, because we don't get enough speeches in Toastmasters about chemistry. So, but for those of you who need outside Toastmasters to communicate about chemistry, clearly you're very interested in what is the word you use to describe something that you cause to change from a solid to a vapor and then to condense back into a solid again. However, that was a way of teasing you into being interested in the word, wasn't it? Because the word usually means to make something exalted. That's when you use it as a verb, which is very, very unusual. But let's go on to the simple adjective. Something that is sublime. Imagine you're an evaluator in a Toastmasters club. Somebody makes a speech that really does have you feeling rather exalted, raised up, as if you've been lifted. What a brilliant thing it would be to say. That Toastmasters was in my opinion, a sublime speech. In my opinion, or in my experience, that speech gave me a spiritual, an intellectual, and a moral uplift. It was truly sublime. Now, let me tell you why. What an introduction to an evaluation, using a word which is powerful. Powerful because it's a lot better than saying, that was a great speech, that was a good speech, that was a fantastic speech. that was a rather good, excellent speech. No, sublime is above all of those praising words. SUBLIME. Don't be misled because it begins with sub. This is not a word that says that it has to do with being under. That was an underperforming speech. It was sublime. No, this is something that lifts you from beneath. That's the technical correct meaning of the word sublime. However, it metamorphoses in most people's hands into just a jolly good show. That was superb, sublime, and sophisticated. There's your bit of a trio for you. Moira, have you ever, let's just talk about you. Have you ever heard me make a sublime speech?
I guess I could have possibly heard you sublimate in the past. Hell's bells, folks. We've gone from the sublime to the ridiculous, and on that basis, we'd better call this episode to a close, and we'll invite you to come back and listen to Mr. Anthony Garvey, DTM, and his TEDx speech. We'll be giving you that tomorrow at the same time. We'll see you then.
Actually,
sorry, I added 12 minutes to my timing rather than 10 minutes. So 10 minutes and then another 1 minute.
That was 15 minutes.
Yeah, it's fine, but you know what?
It'll come down to 2 minutes.
There'll be 2 minutes at least, or
yeah.
It'll be grand.
That's fine.
Moira,
yes,
there is even unusually in Merriam-Webster there is a little discussion of the similarity or origins of the two words sublime and sublimate. Because that's a good clarification because some people will either think they mean the same thing.
Yeah, I was looking at what sublimate actually meant, and I
or else they'll think that the two words are not connected and not related at all.
Well, they are related.
They are.
Yeah,
they both come from a similar root.
Sublimation is a purification or refinement.
No, I'm talking about roots. They come from similar roots. Sure. They mean different things. To sublimate has many different meanings, including the statement that all art is a sublimation of reality, which would be a proposition that all Marxists would subscribe to, because Marx regarded art, poetry, the arts, music, to be a sublimated form of social life. However, that's another story altogether. I'm sure Carl Jung had stuff to say about sublimation as well. But so it's interesting, and none of the, we'd go in a completely different direction. But what an interesting little thing there.
It is indeed. Okay, let's press on.
I love going away, like a Toastmasters meeting, but I love going away. And I notice I have used some of our words of the day recently. Yeah.
That is good.
I've used pejorative.
Very good. Well done. Well done, that man.
So when you're ready.
Okay.
So episode 2, 3, 2, 1, go.
Welcome, Toastmasters, to episode 2 of this week's Talk Show for Talkers here on irishtalkers.com. I'm delighted this week to bring you a speech by a man who is fairly well known in District 71. I say very well known in District 71. He is Mr. Anthony Garvey. Anthony's a distinguished Toastmaster, a brilliant speaker, and a great raconteur. I think he's one of the best storytellers that we have in the district. So sit back and enjoy this rather unusual speech entitled How to Present Naked. Or something like that. Of course, I didn't look at it. How to Present Naked. That's correct. I got it right. Good.
Bang on.
Okay. Yep. Paul, have you heard? Oh, no, you didn't. Have you watched it since, Paul?
No, I haven't. I would love to listen to it.
Okay.
I have it.
Do you have it? Okay.
Yeah. Give me a sec. Take a second. Share screen. Share sound. Where's he gone? There he is. Sound level okay?
When I was 18,
Yep.
I got a job as a vendedor de helados, selling ice cream on a beach in Spain. On my very first day, El Gran Jefe, the boss, handed me a blue stripy apron and a cooler packed with fresh ice cream. You've got your product, your apron, and your sunscreen, he said, handing me a bottle of Factor 50 and a floppy beige sun hat. All I need now is your clothes. Come again? I said as his toothy grin expanded into a fully blown smile. Didn't I mention it? He said casually, pointing to the north. Your patch for the next week is La Playa Nudista, the nudist beach. A whirlwind of thoughts raced through my mind. What if somebody recognizes me? What if they take photos and send them to everyone back home? What if I spot someone on the beach I like? But almost immediately, the counter-arguments formed. No one would recognize me, especially with my dark sunglasses. Cameras were strictly forbidden on the nudist beach. And as for the well, at least I still have my apron. I heard myself say it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And right there and then, on a sunny morning on the Almira coast, I took my clothes off for El Gran Jefe. Moments later, when my wardrobe was safely under lock and key, the boss barked some final instructions. You have 90 ice cream, 3 different type, all the same price. Come back for more when you sell them. Growing up in Ireland in the 1980s, despite our chronic lack of summer sunshine, ice cream was one of our most popular treats. And there were lots of different varieties to choose from. Loop-the-loops, funny feet, twisters, fat frogs, to name but a few. I rummaged around inside my cooler to see what I'd been given to sell. For one horrible moment, I thought I might have to march up and down the nudist beach shouting, "Come and get your fresh wibbly-wobbly wonders." But I needn't have worried. Packed inside my cooler in 3 even containers were milk chocolate, white chocolate, and almond ice creams. I stepped onto La Playa Nudista, the hot sand kissing my feet. Almost immediately, a big-boned man in his mid-70s, completely naked, started sprinting towards me. Now, I'm not sure if it was the heat from the sand or the coolness of my ice cream which propelled him at such velocity, but he moved with the steely determination of Usain Bolt in an Olympic final, if not quite with the same level of gracefulness. When he reached me, gasping for air, he bent, holding his knees. At least I think they were his knees. I waited patiently for him to rise, eager to serve my first customer, keen to try out my school Spanish. After a few more gasps and wheezes and puffs, he said eventually, "I'm fair puckled, ye skinny malinky long legs." Translating from the Scottish, "I'm quite tired, you tall, thin person." Moments later, though, I had made my first sale, although to this day, I'm still not exactly sure where his wallet came from. Business for the rest of the day was brisk, and after 90 minutes, I had almost completely forgotten that I and the punters in front of me were wearing nothing but our smiles. I never got a chance to practice my school Spanish because everyone I dealt with was a tourist. But I did learn something interesting. Because I was surrounded by lots of naked bodies of different hues and colours and shapes and sizes, I became more confident in my own body, which, as a teenager, growing up in Ireland, was really quite liberating. When El Gran Jefe handed me back my clothes 10 hours after I had taken them off, he informed me I had sold a grand total of 265 ice creams. A master of motivation, he summed up my performance with a single word: bueno. A couple of tips for you, ladies and gentlemen, should you ever find yourself naked as nature intended on a nudist beach. Certain odds and ends, which might not normally be exposed to extreme sunlight, deserve special care and attention. Factor 50 is your very best friend. Slather it on all over and reapply it from tip to toe every time you set foot to sand. And speaking of sand, ladies and gentlemen, it gets everywhere. And I mean everywhere. On my final day working on the nudist beach, I got talking to a businesswoman from London. She was looking to hire a marketing executive for her team. And as I stood on a steaming hot day in my birthday suit, she interviewed me for my very first full-time job. I had no CV. I had no covering letter. In fact, I had practically no covering at all. But I want to share with you a lesson that I learned that day. Bearing it all isn't necessarily a bad thing. I want to challenge each and every one of you watching this TEDx talk to deliver your next speech or presentation naked. Does the sound of that fill you with fear? If it does, let me offer you some words of reassurance. When I first started presenting naked, I was worried what people might say. They might laugh even. But no, they were tremendously encouraging and supportive. And now I present naked all the time. And it's not just me. Anyone I have encouraged to present au naturel has done so to gasps of astonishment and support from an enthusiastic audience. Now, of course, when I'm talking about presenting naked, I mean presenting without slides or notes. I can see the relief etched all over your face and not clothes. And when I say presenting naked, I mean stripping away even those tiny cue cards that nervous bridegrooms or jubilant Oscar winners carry in their pockets, so that all the audience is focused on is you. It might seem difficult if you've grown up with slide cards and clickers to throw them all away. But I promise you, as this next story shows, once you go naked, you'll never go back. I was in my mid-30s as a guest at a wedding, about to tuck into fresh curry lamb, seasonal vegetables and buttered potatoes, when I noticed out of the corner of my eye, Tom, the father of the bride, stagger to his feet and zigzag across the room towards me. I put my fork and knife down as he reached my table, leaned over me and breathed. Oh. I've got to give the most important speech of my life 1 hour from now, Tom said. But I just can't do it. My eyes widened like a small child's on Christmas morning. You're good at this public speaking, lark, Tom continued. Will you speak for me? I was stunned. But when I had recovered my composure, I gave Tom the answer he needed to hear. I said, no. But, I added, if you give me 30 minutes of your time right now, I will help you deliver the speech you want to give. You see, like many of us, Tom had never spoken in public before, never mind in front of 300 expectant wedding guests. Ever since his only daughter, Sarah, had become engaged, he had been working on his speech night and day. He'd written reams and reams and reams of pages. I counted 28 in total. And the first thing I did was put them in the trash. You're going to present naked, I announced. And you have never seen someone sober up so quickly. Over the next 30 minutes, I helped reduce Tom's 10,000 words down to 10 headings on a single sheet of paper. You've practiced, you've prepared, I said, offering some final words of encouragement. Now get in there and tell your daughter how you feel about her. Moments later, Tom delivered a speech, naked, without notes, that people to this day still talk fondly about in Kerry. What about you, ladies and gentlemen? Do you ever feel naked when standing in front of an audience to deliver a speech or presentation? Perhaps you dive for the lectern so you'll have something to hide behind, so you're not exposed and uncovered. Maybe you worry about your wooden body language, your croaky voice, or facial tics. These fears, ladies and gentlemen, are all in our heads, but they bubble to the surface when we're doing something new like a TEDx talk, or being interviewed as an 18-year-old on a nudist speech. The truth is, you don't need slides or clickers or cue cards or reams and reams of notes. Throw away the crutches and present naked. Here's a tip that might work for you. When I'm presenting in front of an audience who I've never met before, what I like to do is 20 minutes beforehand, I pop into the bathroom. Ideally, it's got one of those long rectangular mirrors. And I practice a bit of positive reinforcement. So I look into the mirror and say, you can do this. You've done it before. You'll do it again. Just be careful there's no one in the bathroom with you at the time. Otherwise, they might think you're suffering from operational difficulties. You can do this. You've done it before. You'll do it again. Ladies and gentlemen, I've helped hundreds of business executives from all around the world to present naked. And for each one of them, it's been a tremendously empowering experience. You need to look into the whites of people's eyes and connect with them. And not be searching for a clicker so that you can see that the correct slide has appeared on the screen. That's not me, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. That's my stumped bottom. Eye contact is absolutely crucial. And let me tell you, you learn a little something about good eye contact working on a nudist beach. Speaking of nudist beaches, you might remember at the beginning of this talk, I told you about my interview for a job when I was just 18 on a nudist beach. Well, you'd be pleased to hear the businesswoman rang me the following week and offered me the job, and I accepted. And on my very first day, I nearly didn't recognize her with her clothes on. You have to take a leap of faith if you are presenting naked. You might be nervous, you might be scared, you might be petrified. But if you strip your speech right down, then you'll find, like Tom, you'll be able to deliver the speech you want to give. So, leap, ladies and gentlemen. Leap naked.
Well, I've just about stopped smiling. I don't know about you, Paul, but I smile all the way through that speech, and I've heard it now 4 times. I just love it. It's such a good speech. I think we'll do it the best thing that we can and let it stand for what it is, and call this episode to a close. And we'll see you again tomorrow, when Paul is going to be turning his attention.
Moira, I need to count you in.
Sorry.
I did.
Sorry. I forgot. Silly me.
Okay, so you ready?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, go.
Well, I don't know about you folks, but I was smiling all the way through that speech and laughing out loud at many of the wonderful parts of it. I think we'll let it stand on its own without comment, and invite you to join us again tomorrow, when Paul is going to be turning his attention to club officer training, but from a different angle. We'll see you then. Okay.
Yep. All good. Brilliant.
All good. Good show. Paul is obviously conversing.
I was making that point. Maybe I'm wrong. I found the story, or can I say this? But I found it leading in a little bit long, but then brilliant.
Well, it was, yeah. I don't know. I think he's telling a story which is very apt and very appropriate. It built up the interest. It was funny.
And to be honest, I maybe missed a little bit, but he does link back later on in the speech to some of those points.
Yeah.
I think first time watching, maybe the first half was in where's it going. And
but
terrific delivery, absolutely terrific delivery. Great gestures, great connection with the audience. I'd love to have been there.
Yeah. Well, this is the first time I've actually watched it as well as just listening to it. Previously, when I've watched it, I've had it on, I've been doing other things. So I didn't actually realize that he starts undressing, which...
We're going, come on, he could have gone further.
Yeah, he could have done. I thought he might at least have opened his shirt, That was good. It was great.
Brilliant.
Okay, Paul, now your episode. From the PQD's point of view, is that what it is? You're muted.
I'd be grateful if my episode can be called Club Officer Training. What was the exact phrase I used?
You said Club Officer Training for Program Quality Directors.
That's exactly what I wanted to say.
Okay.
And that all will be explained.
Okay. I'm just wondering whether that will put potential listeners off who are not program quality directors.
I'm actually, my real audience are program quality directors.
Okay, fine.
Because of what I'm going to say about them.
Yeah.
We only have one.
We only have one. Well, but we have.
Hold on, I'm not interested in district. Sorry, I don't mean not interested, but I don't do my episodes for District 71.
Exactly.
I never have.
Exactly.
I always have a global audience in mind.
Indeed.
Even if. By the way, Geroid, one of the most satisfying just a little point. Moira was there too. One of the most satisfying Toastmasters club meetings I've ever been to in my life, I went to last night, where the topic was all about TEDx speakers and what a TEDx speech was. And there was indeed quite a lot of comparing and contrasting it with speeches at Toastmasters. I was really blown away by what the guy had to say. And it was recorded, so in case you're ever interested in somebody talking about that topic, just to tell you, there will be a recording available.
I'll send it on.
It was interesting.
You'll have to remind me, Geroid, that you're interested, but you can wait a couple of weeks because I don't know how long it'll take Shilling Club.
Excuse me, 1 second.
Shilling. Okay.
It was at Shilling, and the talk was by a guy who has been a TEDx organizer. The impression I have is many, many times, is a member of Toastmasters, and is also connected very well with other TEDx organizations around the world. He's in Porto in Portugal. So I just say that only because, irrespective of the topic, the way he spoke about something that he knew about, I found to be just fabulous. I thought I've heard very few people speak with so much authority. Lots of people who'd like to be authoritative, but in comparison with this guy, he's in my top group.
He was good.
Let's
press on. We're doing well.
Yeah.
We're only 43 minutes in, and we're halfway through.
And I'll tell you about my experience last night. I was telling Moira, but I had a great experience last night. I have to leave
at 4:30. At 4:30, I have to drive my daughter.
That's okay. We'll be done by then.
Yeah, great.
To despair? Yeah, despair, Paul.
Nice one.
Okay, are we ready? Are we ready?
Yeah.
So episode 3, countdown, 3, 2, 1, go.
Welcome, Toastmasters, would-be Toastmasters listeners and friends, to episode 3 of the Talk Show for Talkers here at irishtalkers.com. Just a little reminder of our email address. It's info@irishtalkers.com. And you can find us on Facebook as the Talk Show for Talkers. Do get in touch with us one way or another. It's my pleasure now to introduce Paul. And Paul today is going to be talking about club officer training, but from a different angle. Paul, tell me. Tell me all.
Yes, Moira, would you mind reading out the title of this particular session as you have it written down in front of you, please?
I will indeed. At least I would indeed if I actually had it in front of me. So it is Club Officer Training for Program Quality Directors.
And that's the point. It's Club Officer Training for Program Quality Directors. When our club officers in Toastmasters International offered training? Okay, some of you know the answer to that. How many of you know when club officer training, the second offering of training began? How many of you know that it began on the 1st of November and it runs between the 1st of November and 28th of February? So that's a long period of time and it began over a month ago. Let's think about when it would be best to provide club officers with training. That is assuming the training is good and it is going to help them to be more effective in their leadership role. Otherwise, of course, it's not worth doing. But let's leave that aside. When? And the answer must be surely as early as possible in the year and as early as possible after that. Because valuable training helps increase the effectiveness of the club officers, and the more effective the club officers are at leading their clubs, the greater the benefit there will be to the club members. So ideally, you don't wait until the 28th of February to train your club officers. Ideally, you do it on the 1st of November. You get your second batch of training in on the 1st of November because the officers that have been given training on the 1st of November, they have an advantage over others. Now, leave that aside because I'm talking today in relation to program quality directors. What I've just said already, I think is something for program quality directors to consider. What is a TMI training session? Who knows what TMI stands for? Toastmasters Leadership or Toastmasters Institute. Toastmasters Institute training is what TMI stands for. I, of course, want this section to be cut out, Moira. Please stop. Geroid, if you can hear this, I want you to roll back, delete the last half paragraph, and just tell me where I can pick up again, please. See, he's buggered off. He's not doing his job. He's left you to pick up the pieces and he doesn't have a clue. He just wrongly assumes Paul will, of course, get everything right every time.
As he always does.
We have cut him out.
Well, folks, is it TLI or TMI? I thought it was TLI, Toastmasters Leadership
Institute. You're absolutely
Institute.
correct, Moira. You're absolutely correct. I made the mistake.
Yeah, I was wondering, should I chip in and correct you? But I knew that you would find your way out of it somehow.
Yeah. Well,
all you needed to do, Paul, was to give a long pause.
Yeah.
And restart yourself. Yeah.
Perhaps I could do that again now.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to nip away there for 2 seconds. Is everything okay?
No.
No.
No, we...
Do you want me to... Where do we... No, somebody calls to the door.
You've got to go back about 3 minutes now.
Okay.
Paul,
I'll find the moment anyway in the recording.
Yeah, I think Paul needs to know though where he can pick it up, because I think he's lost his. He doesn't know how he got into it.
I think I'll be okay, because I know that it's basically who knows what TLI stands for. You know.
Yeah.
So
do you want to go again? I'll mix them together, or do you want to go back to record? Play back.
No, you'll see when you have to cut out everything from a certain point in when I.
Don't worry, I get all your.
No, it's nothing to do with that.
Everything.
It has nothing to do with that.
I know. I'll find it.
You'll find it. Okay. Just count me in, and I'll start it, and I'll not start again. I'll continue from where I.
Yeah. Well, we're still recording. But I'll know where to come in. So 3, 2, 1, go.
What do the letters TLI stand for? Program Quality Directors. I don't expect ordinary members in Toastmasters clubs, even club officers in Ireland, to know what TLI stands for. It stands for Toastmasters Leadership Institute. Toastmasters Leadership Institute is a term that refers to a particular type of training, learning opportunity given to put in front of club officers and indeed club members. And it is that indeed there will be a whole variety of learning sessions on offer. Some will be appropriate for brand new people, brand new officers, never been officers in that role before. Others will be appropriate for people who have been club officers for many years and perhaps done every officer's role in the club. There'll be a variety of things on offer. There may even be things on offer that are not offered anywhere else in the world. There may be poetry, dancing, song, DJ as well to enliven the event up. It's a learning event. And it is possible for program quality directors in districts all over the world to decide, hey, that's what we're going to offer our district members and our club officers. It can really only be led in most districts by the program quality director, because a TLI offers such a variety of sessions that you really need somebody who can draw talent in from all around the district and outside the district in order to provide a sufficiently engaging program. I want to talk particularly to program quality directors because you can learn from each other. Parts of the world have had TLI events for many, many years. Other parts of the world are not familiar with it. Some program quality directors have put on club officer training in a way that is not a TLI type event. In other words, they've simply run what could be run on a much smaller scale and invited people from all around the district to come to it. Toastmasters International produced recently, meaning about 6 or 8 months ago, a series of new training modules. These are significant modules, each of which take about an hour and a half to run. Traditionally in club officer training, the sessions are much shorter than that. There are sessions on quality club meetings. It takes about an hour and a half to run properly according to the training design that has been provided. That, for example, is something that can be offered to club members and to club officers. The key thing is that the training needs to be seen, in my opinion, as a learning event rather than a whole load of things pushed at people as if people were machines to take them in. So the emphasis does need to be on learning, not ticking the box. It's not on providing something called club officer training, which fulfills the requirement of getting 4 officers from each club to turn up, get their ticks, and hey presto, that's all that's needed. The kind of training that club officers need, the type of learning they need, is something which they find motivating, encouraging, empowering. You certainly, and I'm sure no program quality director would want to do this, you certainly don't put on anything that would bore the pants off very experienced, very motivated club officers who are saying to themselves, oh, I heard all that last year. Oh, this is the usual stuff. No, every year is distinct, new challenges. Everybody knows that the challenges we face as an organization between now and, let's say, even the end of this year are unique. They're different from last year. Everybody knows that. So the learning opportunities need to be run in a different way. Now, there are other ways to provide training to club officers other than using the Toastmasters Leadership Institute approach. It can be left by program quality directors. It can be left up to area directors to put on club officer trainings. There are great advantages in doing that because, of course, it gives an area director an opportunity to practice event management and gives an area director an opportunity to move from being a speaker to being a trainer. There is, of course, well worth remembering that there is a very special Toastmasters educational opportunity called from speaker to trainer. A really well-run TLI type of training or learning event all of the sessions would be delivered by people who had been to the from speaker to training one day learning. It really is excellent. I've been on it. I've run it. It's fabulous. Recommend it to your friends. Really is great. Good for stuff outside Toastmasters, by the way, as well as for stuff inside Toastmasters. It really is a minimum standard that anybody who's going to take the responsibility of being a learning resource for others needs to have, in my opinion. Program quality directors, you have options. You can leave it to others, or you can lead. It's up to you, whichever you prefer to do. At your level, you need to provide an event, a learning opportunity that will be well above what people are expecting, well above expectations, because you are the program quality director. You're a higher level leadership caliber, let's say, or experience than the relatively inexperienced area director. Of course, look, the talk show for talkers is not where you get instruction on what you ought to do. We're a catalyst for thought. We prod people to do things they mightn't really want to do. But in any case, learning is what it's all about. Club officers are ready to learn, and club officer training began on the 1st of November. There you are, Maura.
Thank you for that, Paul. I was aware that club officer training starts on the 1st of November, and I am quietly surprised that so few of our area directors, division directors, and even possibly district officers don't take the opportunity of starting their training at the beginning of the period. It would make so much sense and give officers, club officers, so many more opportunities for getting trained instead of leaving it until January, which is what we tend to do. Anyway, thank you for that, Paul. We'll call this episode to a close and invite you to come back tomorrow at the same time when I'm going to be talking about the new Pathways Level 1 in some detail. See you then.
Excellent, Moira. Great topic as well to coming.
Well, we have covered it. We did cover it briefly in July, but it was, we did a whole section on it, but we didn't actually have a huge amount of detail. We now have all the details. So,
do you have access to all the learning materials behind the new Level 1?
No, I don't have access to the learning materials. I only have access to the headlines. The project, what do you call it?
Descriptions and all that.
Yeah. So we can talk about the individual.
I'm going to buy a path. In fact, I'm going to buy it today. Yeah. I'm going to buy another path, especially to get.
Yes, I considered doing that.
Because anyway, I'm going to buy another path anyway. I'm only doing 3 of them, and I'm nearly finished. I finished one, and I should have another one finished, not too distant future.
Yeah.
And but I do want to see the Level 1 learning material because you're going to talk about it now, and there are things in it that I am really interested to see.
Indeed.
Because some of it. Has to be fresh stuff.
Yes.
I'm glad. And Moira won't come down on your back, Paul, because you were grammatically correct there by saying Pat. I got scolded earlier.
Yes, you did. Yeah.
So I'm going to purchase my 5th Pat quite soon as well. So I can do another icebreaker and go through it.
We won't put this into the show, but I have heard so many well-travelled Toastmasters saying, I'm going to start a new pathway. Instead of I'm going to start a new path. It's almost become endemic. But anyway.
Well, yes. I'm going to buy it right now, you see. What I'm saying to myself is, where on earth do I buy it?
You go into
log into Toastmasters International.
I've done that. Where is it in Leadership Central?
No, in Pathways.
Go Pathways.
Go
I will do that. In fact, while you're
choose your path and then go to
me,
make sure you do digital version.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, I'll get that. I think I'll do this one in English.
Might be a good idea.
I thought, Paul, you'd always be doing Taiwanese.
I don't think it's available.
You love it so much there, Paul.
I tell you what, joking apart, I might even, at some stage, I wouldn't do it. It would be too ridiculous. But I might have had a go at doing it in French.
Really? I don't think it's available.
It would have been so good for my French, you see. Once upon a time, I would have been able to face to face the language side. I would have been okay for that, but I wouldn't be good enough now. So,
all right, give me a test, Paul. Je travaille avec des ordinateurs. What does that mean? Je travaille avec des ordinateurs.
What?
Je travaille avec des ordinateurs.
Oh,
well, it means to work with the ordinateur. I'm going to call them the printed materials. I'm not totally sure what the word is, but I'll go along with that. I'm not sure.
Well, as far as I was taught back in Intercert was computers.
Ordinateur. L'ordinateur.
Ordinateur.
C'est un computer. Yeah. Un computer.
Oh, yeah. Now,
je ne sais pas.
The interesting thing is that I can't get the blooming. It says obtain the digital resources online via Basecamp, and then it gives me select digital resources, which I'm doing. But the poor system doesn't work. It kind of seizes up. I'm going to try one more time. Oh, maybe it pushes me down here. View the path options. I want to view the path options. I won't worry too much about taking the online assessment. Am I going to do which one? Hey, tell me, look, you guys know me.
Well,
I'm going to ask both of you. I'm going to ask both of you.
Which three have you done already?
I don't know him. Do you know him, or?
Hold on. I'm going to ask each of you, which path do you think it would be most useful for me to take in order to develop myself as a communicator and leader? Which of the paths? I am already...
Humorous speaking.
What do you think, Geroid?
I agree with Moira.
Well, who am I to disagree then? Oh my God, I wish you hadn't said that.
Because in Batman, Heath Ledger's a joker. Why so serious? Why so serious? Oh, yeah.
Bloody hell, you would, of course. You both, you're two devious bastards. You knew damn well that that the last one I wanted to do was this one. Anyway.
Which is why it's a good thing for you to do.
Of course you're right. Yeah. Of course you're right.
Go out of your comfort zone, Paul.
Yeah. Well, every time I meet you, I'm out of my comfort zone. Excuse me. Sorry. That was unfair.
Can I just go back to that last episode? I think a great idea for a Toastmaster and another award would be the Grand Slam. And you mentioned youth leadership, speechcraft, being a mentor to a club, being a sponsor to a club. Wouldn't that be a great Grand Slam to achieve, that you've kind of done everything when it comes to clubs?
Oh, I agree with you. Yeah, I do. Definitely agree. Anyway, I'm not sure what I'm agreeing with, but I do agree.
Come on, chaps, we've got 25 minutes to finish, so 23 minutes to finish. Let's go. Let me find my notes again. They're there, right in front of me. So, a good place for them to be, really. Let me move everything out of the way so I can get my notes up to where I can see them. Right underneath the camera. Okay. Paul, you got to bring us in?
I'll lead you in. So 3.
Yes, of course.
3, 2, 1, go.
Welcome, listeners. Welcome to the Talk Show for Talkers. And today our episode is going to be introduced by distinguished Toastmaster Moira O'Brien, who is the immediate past president of Blarney Toastmasters Club in Ireland. Moira, I can tell you, has been a presenter on the Talk Show for Talkers since before you joined Toastmasters. So let me ask Moira to come forward onto the stage. And Moira, I have a question for you. Here's the question.
Ask away.
What on earth have Toastmasters International done recently by introducing some new things into the education program that we dearly love called Pathways? What have they done?
Well, Paul, it's funny you should ask me that question, because that's exactly what I'm going to talk about. You may not be aware, if you've been in Pathways for a wee bit of time and you've been working on your path, you've already gone through level 1, you won't know that the next path that you buy is going to have a different level 1. And this has come into being as of the 27th of October. This year, 2021. There's been a lot of talk over the years since Pathways was launched about what we lost from the first 6 speeches in the old Competent Communicator Manual when we moved to Pathways. There was a lot of feeling that we missed a lot of the basics when we ditched the old Competent Communicator. So Toastmasters International listened, and they have put together a new level 1, which incorporates a lot of what we thought that we had missed. So we did talk about this way back in July this year, but we didn't have the detail. Now we have all the detail, so let's go into it in detail. Level 1 now consists of 4 sections. The Icebreaker, no change there. The second item is writing a speech with purpose. The foundational project, it's called, and it's designed to help you. The foundational project, it's called, and it's designed to help you write effective, concise speeches with purpose. The next one is Introduction to Vocal Variety and Body Language. And this foundational project is designed to help you learn the basics of presenting with engaging vocal variety and compelling body language. And lastly, Evaluation and Feedback, which is much the same as it was before. It's designed to introduce Toastmasters' evaluation process, and you'll learn about giving, receiving, and applying feedback. Okay, so let's look at them in detail. The Icebreaker, well, there's no change. This is still the same Icebreaker that we've had and we love from many, many years. And the purpose of the project is to introduce yourself to the club and to learn the basic structure of a public speech. A lot of people ask the question, well, I've already done an Icebreaker. Do I have to do it again? Well, think about this. When you did your first Icebreaker, you were literally doing that. You were introducing yourself to your club. But now you're a much better speaker because you're doing it for the second time, or maybe the third or fourth or fifth time. So rather than just introducing yourself, go a bit further and create a really engaging speech. You will be introducing yourself to newer members. Remember that. Maybe 50% or more of your club will not have heard your original Icebreaker. So it is always worthwhile developing your Icebreaker speech. Keep on developing it because you will find it useful, inevitably. So it's a 4 to 6 minute speech, and it can be on any style, humorous, informational, or whatever style floats your boat. Okay, so let's go on to the second one. Project description, writing a speech with purpose. So we want to learn or review basic methods of writing a speech with a defined purpose and to present a well-organized speech on any topic. Select a speech that appeals to you. It can be anything. There's no rules saying you've got to give a speech on this subject. Just find a subject that appeals to you and make sure that it is narrow enough to be an effective 5 to 7 minute speech. Clearly define your topic and consider what your goal is for this speech. So before you organize the speech, identify and express your purpose in one single sentence. That's not an easy thing to do. But if you do that, if you can get it into one single sentence, you know that you're not going to be talking about too much. Hopefully not too little either. Then practice your speech and refine its organisation, and finally, present your speech at a club meeting. Okay, so we've got 4 things. Defining the general purpose and then a specific purpose. You have the topic and purpose worksheet to use and to help you. And specific, the speech outline worksheet, and then delivering a 5 to 7 minute speech. And all the things that you need to complete this project will be contained within the online project. Okay, let's go into the next one. Project description. Introduction to vocal variety and body language. And this is completely new to those of you who did not come from the Competent Communicator Manual. The purpose of this project is to practice using vocal variety and or body language to enhance a speech. You're going to learn and review the importance of vocal variety and the importance of body language. You're going to present a 5 to 7 minute speech on any topic at your club meeting, and the primary focus of the evaluation is your vocal variety and your body language. And body language includes gestures, facial expression, the way you stand, the way you present yourself physically, how you hold your head, how you express emotion. It's everything that goes into, how can I put it? Being the speech. You'll understand that when you've given a few speeches. You'll understand that your body speaks, and your body is going to support what your speech is saying. So, as the primary focus of the evaluation is vocal variety and body language, that's what you will be evaluated on, and you will identify the skills that you're working on for your evaluator. Your speech can be, as always, persuasive, humorous, informational, or crafted in any style that appeals to you. But most important, it supports your speech content. As always, it's a 5 to 7 minute speech. Then the final section is the evaluation and feedback. Now, this is very similar to what we had before in the original pass, level 1 pass. You have to present 2 5 to 7 minute speeches on any topic you like. But after your first speech, you're going to be evaluated, and you're going to take on board the evaluations that you've been given. And then, when you give the second speech, which doesn't need to be the same speech, but I thoroughly recommend that you do repeat the same speech, because it makes it much easier for your evaluators to see how you have progressed from the original speech that you gave and with the evaluations that you received. Because we're going to be looking at how you take on board those evaluations. Are we going to be talking about the same things that you did well and the same things that you could improve upon? Or have we got over the improvements? We've managed to incorporate the improvements, and now we're looking at more advanced things. So, the point of the second speech is that it reflects some or all of the feedback that you received after your first evaluation and feedback speech. And then finally, when you've completed both speeches, you must serve as an evaluator at a club meeting and deliver a constructive feedback about another member's presentation. And this is important, and I'm not sure that everybody realizes that this is actually part of that level 1, both in the previous version and this version. So you have 3 things to do. You've got to give a speech and have it evaluated. Give another speech, preferably the same one, incorporating those evaluations. And thirdly, to serve as a speech evaluator. Now, if you go back and you count how many speeches you're actually going to be giving, it's a little bit more. I think it's 5 speeches. Let's count them. You've got your icebreaker. You have your writing a speech with purpose. That's 2. You have your introduction to vocal variety and body language. That's 3. And then you have your 2 evaluation of feedback speeches, which makes 5. So you've got 5 speeches and 1 evaluation in order to achieve your level 1. And in my humble opinion, this is far superior to the previous version of level 1. Paul, do you have any comments you'd like to add?
I have been looking, Moira, in detail at the learning materials which lie behind the new level 1. I've been looking at how each of the projects are presented within level 1, and I can assure the listeners that there has been a considerable revamp. It gives a good indication of how future levels within Toastmasters will be developed. So there's one thing I would suggest to all Toastmasters who are already engaged on pods to think ahead and perhaps invest in their future development by getting somebody to give them a Christmas present of a new path.
I think it's an excellent idea, Paul. I couldn't think of a better Christmas present. Thanks for that. You've just solved one of my problems. I'm delighted that you have gone into the detail, Paul. I wish we could have gone into more detail here, but we are obviously restricted by your attention span, dear listener, which I hope was good
Moira,
enough. Yes.
It's always possible to do a part 2 of what you have so generously introduced today, in which we, on behalf of those who haven't yet signed up for a new path, in which we reveal some of the secrets of the new learning opportunities that lie behind the doorway, and thereby make the Christmas present even more attractive.
Let us consider that seriously. But for now, we will relieve you of the burden of listening to us, and we'll invite you to come back next week and listen to more from the Talk Show for Talkers team on irishtalkers.com. So from me, Moira O'Brien, and from
Paul O'Mahony. Thank you so much, listeners.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week. Bye.
And there was I, totally distracted by the thought that we must send this episode to the Pathways Development team at headquarters. We must attach it to some email to whatever it's called, Pathways team. So please make sure that gets done, because they're human beings at the other end of the thing, and they might appreciate it, you know.
They might indeed. They might indeed.
I'm very pleasantly surprised by what I have seen, because as I told you, I signed up for this thing you forced me to do.
Yep, indeed.
What would that be, Paul?
Yeah.
Jalapeno peppers, it's called.
No, I thought it was how to give a speech naked. God darn.
Yeah. Okay, let's sign off from YouTube. I hope you enjoyed watching the stupidity. Sorry, the seriousness that goes on in